The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not representative of the opinions and doctrine of Morris Community Church. We reserve the right to change our minds, and we reserve the right to be wrong. Welcome to the Roasted Christian Podcast. This is Bobby.
And I'm John. Here at the Roasted Christian, we roast ideas. And we roast coffee.
No, okay. So
and we will find out about the roasting soon.
Okay. So that's three things?
I don't know.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode again. Thanks for joining us. Right now, it is cold, it is windy, it is blowing snow, but we're inside. We got hot coffee. We're going to talk a little bit about that and other things today hopefully for your enjoying listening pleasure. John, how you doing?
I'm well. I'm cold. Which kind of stands to reason, but I guess there are a lot of winters where I'm just comfy. Mm-hmm. But so far,
you're a husky, burly man.
I am.
For those who don't know,
I rarely have to bundle up in excess, but lately, like this past week, I have just been cold like all the time. I don't know what's going on.
So going to Elders this morning, it was 5:55 when I was leaving my door. I open up the door, and the wind basically shoved back the door in my face to close it. Mm-hmm. And I literally stood there and went, nope. Like, I don't want to go up there. Put the hood on, put the stocking hat on, and I literally had an angle walking to my garage door in order to brave the wind.
Maybe it is the wind. Finding all of the nooks and
Are we doing the thing we talked about last week about Minnesotans
complaining
and the
about weather? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's what you get, I guess.
Yep.
At least it's not
wet. Buggy.
At least there's no bugs.
All right. There we go.
At least we don't have mosquitoes right now. That's what we could take from it. Do we want to go into your corner first?
Nah, we can do the chit chat.
We'll do chit chat first. Last week we talked about singles in the church, and we had Sara Hutink with us. Yes. And I really enjoyed that interview, and listening to it again when I was editing it, just really appreciated the perspective that she had, because not only does it lead credence to just singles, but the concept of thinking about people who are probably marginalized in your church or whatever group setting you're in, how to be actively involved in remembering them and thinking about them and making sure that their voice is heard. So what else stood out to you from Sara?
Well, just in the localized picture, how much we are entirely male-led in our stream of churches, which I don't know if that, like, if we're consciously making those decisions, or, I mean, it might just be a case of culture where we kind of automatically rule out women for whatever reason, and so we don't consciously reject women for those kind of positions. Yeah. They just maybe never get in the running. Yeah. And that's kind of interesting. Yeah. Like, she's really the only non-attached spouse leader that City Hill, Trewbridge stuff has really seen. Yep.
Well, at least in my memory, and as much of a connection that we have with Trewbridge, there are, I think actually, I believe by design in Trewbridge, for the most part, they do not allow women to be elders.
Okay.
I believe they would allow to be pastor, but not an elder in a church, citing 2 Timothy 2, I believe, as their main sites. So that's in another realm, maybe for another podcast, to talk about the role of women in church. At MCC, we believe that women can be elders and can be pastors, and so that's a part of our makeup, and obviously a little bit of a maybe contention point with Trewbridge, which has actually brought some good discussions. But I really do appreciate Sara. Have always had appreciation for her gifting, who she is, and her passion to see Christ being made more real in especially youth people's lives, but in anyone's life. And but what do we do now? Well, how can the average listener, the average churchgoer, what can they do now in response to, hey, wait a second, yeah, single people are kind of sometimes left out just by the it's almost like married privilege. If we want to go there, there's a structure and a system put in place that we're piggybacking off of that essentially excludes either women or singles or both. And yeah, maybe individually we're not actively rejecting single people, like I have single friends, or I'm not listening to single people. Right. But we're still piggybacking off of a system and an entire culture that was structured around married men making decisions. Mm-hmm. What do we do now?
Well, step one would be to find a print shop and get some signs and form a picket line outside of your local church.
Yes.
Until they bow to your demands.
Man, how have you seen a picket of the church members outside of a church before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I've never heard of that on the news, maybe necessarily. Maybe my limited scope and knowledge is like, well, don't you know about this incident that happened in 1906? And I'm like, yeah, I don't remember. I'm sorry, but excuse my ignorance, but I don't hear of that regularly. Church members picketing outside of a church. Maybe they should.
Maybe
you got something, John. and like not joking at all. Like,
okay, I was totally joking. It would probably produce an effect. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't go unnoticed.
Correct. So, especially in a small town.
Right.
What if we just like lobbied all of the people, like started kind of like these internal stirrings within all of the local churches, be like, yeah, we should get signs and go outside. Yeah. But wait till March or April, like when it warms up. Then we'll go outside.
Yeah. Or, I mean, if you have to do it in December, you could like pick it in the foyer or something.
There you go. I'm not going in that sanctuary. I'm going to stay in the foyer where there's coffee.
Yeah.
What do we do, man?
I mean, I think it's hard because I don't know that we necessarily change vision in a church to focus around a marginalized group. I think we need to make sure that the body as a whole is paying attention to its members. I mean, it might be...
Well, yeah, one thing maybe to do is evaluate the vision and making sure it's not single or raising up a certain just group of people.
Right. Because I
evaluate your system.
It's a wider issue. It's more maybe about apathy or kind of being self-focused. So if church is designed for those who come to be fed, then the members of that church aren't necessarily looking out for everybody else. Yeah. So if we're changing the vision from just being a consumer to being a family, then everyone in that family is included.
Yeah.
And hopefully that also includes singles.
That's a really good point. The attitude people are taking going into church.
Yeah.
If you're taking of what am I getting out of this thing, you're instantly already setting up barriers and a structure for yourself that's going to be limiting to people. But if the point of church is to equip you to go out and be the church, and we're all in this together, then there's definitely, like you said, a family element to it. Like, how am I making sure that this family member is also equipped to go do their work? Because we don't, like, if you go on a trip with your kids to like Six Flags and you equip, the top two kids with sunscreen, but the third kid, you're like, yeah, they'll make do.
They'll
like,
get splatters.
The baby will make do. Like the baby will figure it out, right? They noticed other two got sunscreen. They'll join in with the sunscreen. It's like, well, you're providing the sunscreen. Like there's certain structures that the church is responsible for, and vision setting. I think that's a great point. Evaluate your vision, and if you're a single person right now listening who's not involved in leadership at all, but feel marginalized in any way, Please speak to someone.
Mm-hmm.
In the IT world, it's common we say, I don't know. I can't fix your computer problem if I don't know it's broken, right? Now, can I take a proactive approach in asking, hey, how's our things going? Is your computer broken? And then, oh, yeah, by the way, it is.
Yeah,
we still can take proactive approaches and talking to our single people, making sure we're making the effort, being like, hey, how are things? What are you feeling? But at the same time, don't sit back if something comes up and you're like, wait a second, that hit my radar. I need to talk to somebody about that. Don't just wait.
Mm-hmm.
The church is called to be in unity, not uniformity, but unity and in peace. So as far as it depends on you, be at peace with everyone. Go talk to someone if you got an issue.
Yep.
So, all right. That's a little chit chat. You have Coen Brothers on here.
Yeah. So I have seen, let's see, No Country for Old Men, Fargo, Intolerable Cruelty, Hail Caesar, Burn After Reading, and maybe a few other Coen Brothers that I can't think of right now. And it just hit my brain the other day because I watched Hail Caesar and it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. How do they have such a high success rate and a crazy low fail rate? Because some of their movies
define success
are almost like they're household names.
Just like dollars, like people are able to make movies because people keep going to them. Is
not necessarily success financially, although I'm sure they've.
Or do you mean
like
Rotten Tomatoes rating on all their movies? They're very successful.
Well, I mean that Fargo is pretty much a household name.
Yeah,
like you can mention that and pretty much people know what you're talking about. Even if they haven't seen the movie, people know like that is a movie and it's a classic and a lot of the same characters or actors in that one as in some of their later ones, and it's just they're so hit and miss, and I don't understand. So maybe I don't know. There's no science behind movie making, obviously, and maybe sometimes they just
unless
get
you're
lucky
Adam Sandler, then we know you're probably going to be making a bad movie.
Right.
Because
that one you can take to the bank.
After Billy Madison and after Happy Gilmore, which have special places in my heart. After that. Man, I mean, I can't think of one that he nailed. Now, my wife and I remember we watched a lot Spanglish.
Okay.
I think it was him and Penelope Cruz. But it was outside of his normal role of like just slapstick stupid.
Sure.
When he goes with Rob Schneider and makes a slapstick. Oh, well, Waterboy. I can say Waterboy I liked. That was funny.
I saw that one. That was pretty funny, but that
was the first DVD we ever got, and we watched it on our computer, on our desktop computer, all huddled around it in the ping pong room in our house. I remember,
nice,
because that was the only DVD player we had was the computer.
Oh, Brother, We're Out Thou, I think is another Coen Brothers.
I think you said it though, didn't you?
No.
Oh. Yeah.
I try to avoid saying that because actually it's a bit of a tongue twister for me. But yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it comes down to George Clooney. Sometimes he's on, sometimes he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a lot of those.
I think if you made one really good movie at one point in your life, you're given a huge grace period, I think, in Hollywood of how many bad movies you can make before they're like, okay, well, you really got to come up with something good, or like team up with Steven Spielberg, and then we'll let you back in.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah, they, in my opinion, they definitely hit it out of the park with Fargo and No Country for Old Men. Mm-hmm. And then some of the other ones are kind of meh, and some of them are just tanks.
I wish I had a reference point for you. I haven't seen any of that.
Okay. Well,
zero. And I probably should watch Fargo. I've seen a couple scenes in Fargo, and I wanted to rip my eyes out. But, yeah, I should probably at least watch that. Maybe that'll make that my assignment for next week. In
my mind, it's if it's not the peak of awkward, it gets really clse. Yeah. It's just like you squirm the whole time. You're like, oh, I can't believe this is a real situation. I mean, Whitney, it's not.
I think Whitney would hate it.
Yeah, probably. So I guess any listeners, if you have insight into why Joel and Ethan Coen can do great one year and just bomb the other year, let us know. Okay. I'm in the dark.
Well, with those listeners, I'm gonna extend out an olive branch, a peace offering, with my hand, and then I'll grab their hand, and then we'll proceed to walk over to your Coffee Corner.
Wow. Well, this week we're talking about the roast.
The roast.
Yeah.
How?
So, assuming, well, I guess
apropos.
all coffee is roasted in a similar way. If you're roasting at home or if it's being roasted commercially, it requires basically two things: a rapid amount of heat and movement. Basically, what happens is as the beans are heated up, there's moisture inside, like on the cellular level, I think, that gets that expands.
Have, like, science like gleaming in your eyes. You're like, on the science cellular level.
Science.
Science.
There was one. I should have put the link on here because there was definitely a science word. It was like pyrolysis or something. Which is basically just sugar caramelizing, I think. But basically,
okay,
a coffee bean has to get to 370 degrees-ish for the moisture to blow out. And that's what you hear when the bean does the first crack.
Okay.
And basically, that's the starting point of the roast. So anytime between that and completely burnt, you can stop the roasting process and you will have coffee.
Okay.
So what happens when it's being heated is that all of the sugars that are inside the bean are caramelized, and that imparts the flavor. So there's different kinds of sugar in different kinds of coffee beans, and that's what imparts the flavor. So basically all coffee responds the same, but in practice, no coffee responds the same. I have yet to find different coffees take the same amount of time or taste the same with the same amount, like the same environment and whatever. And I do have a few more variables because I roast outside, so temperature changes quite a bit. But there are, like, this Kenya peaberry just really is tricky. First and second crack do not happen when I think they should, and sometimes they're not audible at all. And
so second crack happens before burnt.
Yes. Second crack is what most people would consider full city plus, which is kind of the edge between a real roast and like French roast.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, basically anywhere in between. And the article that I read basically said there is a science to understanding how and why beans roast the way they do, but in practice, it's more of an art, which is kind of appealing to me because it's not so much a formula. Basically, you're taking your time to wait and see what kind of what they call a roast profile develops. So things like light roast, medium roast, dark roast really barely scratch the surface of what you're getting to. And the nice thing with Sweet Maria's that I get my beans from, they generally have a recommendation on these beans, what they can take. So some are good for espresso, some are not good. Some you can go kind of full city and past, and some really aren't. They don't do well at that point. So that is the basest of overviews, and hopefully I'm getting coffee this week from them. I got a pound from Honduras and a pound from Costa Rica, I believe, and both of which are supposed to be kind of stereotypical of their regions. Okay. So I'm pretty excited to get into those.
Have you expanded out to those regions before or no?
I have done Guatemala and some from South America, but not a whole lot in Central America. Cool. So, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to drinking that.
Me too.
All right. Well, thanks for teaching us a little bit about the roast. I didn't know anything about that the sugar. That's what provides the flavor.
Yep. It also provides the stink because you're burning sugar, making it caramel.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think we've had some chit chat. We've had talking about coffee. Hopefully you are further educated in your full coffee picture. We've talked about grinders. We've talked about methods for
brewing methods. Yep.
We've talked about
roasting.
roasting.
I found out with the French press and the pour over when you avoid a paper filter, you retain more of the tasty oils in the coffee, whereas a paper filter absorbs it and doesn't let it into the cup. So the trade-off with the French press is you get the sludge, but you also get the oils, whereas you don't with the paper filter.
Do they have different types of filters that I can put in my normal coffee?
They have
percolator to
like stainless steel or gold-plated. I can't remember, but they have a metal filter that you can wash, and I believe that allows more of the oil to come through.
Maybe that's something worth pursuing.
Yeah,
if there's any, let's put it this way: if there's any guest out there who wants to ship a Christmas present to the Roasted Christian, you can ship us a couple. Reusable coffee filters.
I've been looking into pour overs, and they've got some pretty cool deals. They've got a thing. It's a built-in filter.
Okay.
And you put the beans in, and then you just slowly pour boiling water in. And it filters down into this carafe, and then you take the top off and you pour the carafe, like you just pour the coffee into mugs. Pretty simple, yeah. And then you do what you want. But they actually get pretty high capacity, like 50 ounces. So, and they're pretty inexpensive. So
I've seen that.
If anybody wants to send us one,
absolutely. We are totally open to receiving gifts of the coffee nature. But I think that does it for our beginning part. Let's jump
with 2 feet
into the fresh roast. It is the Christmas season?
No, it's the holiday season.
It's the holiday season and Santa Claus.
But our question is, does it matter?
Doesn't matter. We're going to talk a little bit about the why do Christians get up in arms about the need to essentially impress upon the rest of everyone saying Merry Christmas or having manger scenes or essentially the Christmas thing. Like you got your Starbucks cup kind of like last year was the pinnacle of blowing the top off of some people. Like,
fill us in, Bob.
Okay.
What happened?
So I believe this is what happened. Gabe, you're going to need to correct me because you're very good at that, because I get facts wrong a lot of history that go past 4 hours ago. So I believe Starbucks changed their holiday cup. It had more of a Christmas type feel in years past. They removed kind of all, I would say, Christmas paraphernalia from their cup, and kind of called it a holiday cup. And it was like the red cup, right? Is that what the deal was? It was like the red cup. And there was people up in arms.
Serious backlash
about them removing Christmas from their cups. And I mean, people were making vlogs about it, and it was on the news, and lots of people posting of, man, Starbucks just doesn't get, isn't strong enough to make a stance about saying Merry Christmas about things. So, John, I want you to tell me why they're crazy. Why not Starbucks?
Which
but
one?
Like the people who are up in arms
about
it. And I'm going to try and attempt to be better than I was in our gun episode where I couldn't even hold it for 5 seconds. I'm going to try to take the other side and argue why we need to have more of this. Why businesses or companies, whatever direction you want to go.
Why we should force Christmas down everyone's throat.
Well, now you're already taking it into. That's not what I'm talking about, John. I'm not talking about forcing it down people's throats.
But that's what you're doing.
I'm talking about my rights to be able to say Merry Christmas and not have other people get offended and sue me.
Did that happen?
Well, it's gonna happen.
Oh, okay.
This is America,
because we're slowly losing our right.
Is land of the liberals, home of the offended. Because
if we can't have Christmas, put that on a tweet. If we can't have Christmas on a coffee cup, then pretty soon our entire religion.
If Jesus isn't on my Starbucks, where is he? I mean, the silhouette of the Christian American is one hand up in worship and one hand holding a Starbucks cup.
Yeah, man.
Is it not? That's your iPod.
All
silhouette.
Real churches have Starbucks.
Real
in them.
churches do. That's right.
Yeah. So. I mean, we pretty much laid out why conversation over, I guess. No. Okay. People who reacted strongly to Christmas being taken out of the public sphere, they
make me feel better about why that's okay, man.
It is okay because Christmas is a relatively pagan holiday that was just converted by Christianity. There is nothing inherent in our spiritual or biblical foundation.
But it is my right, though, to be able to say Merry Christmas.
Oh, for sure. And no one is preventing that.
Then why should businesses be afraid of displaying or saying or anything dealing with that word?
Do you think it's okay? So I would say at this point in time to maintain I don't know if I would say that. Bear with me.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. I'm spitballing here.
Now, also, all of our people who are listening, John and I frame.
We like Christmas.
Yeah. Well, also part of the podcast element to this is not that we come fully researched, and we like to just spontaneity, talk about things, have some background. We do some research. Yes, we do.
Yes.
Even though it may not sound like it at times, but we like to have some spontaneity to our conversation because sometimes that can lead you somewhere where if you were alone just typing, you can't go there.
For one, verbally process pretty much everything.
I do a lot too.
Yep.
And whatever you say, that's changing my ideas, and it gets me thinking about other things. But the whole point of why we do this is to start a conversation. So if it gets us started in a conversation to lead to better truth and a better understanding of a revelation of who Christ is and how Christ is doing things in any subject, that's why we're doing it. So continue, Johnny.
End parentheses.
Yes.
Okay. You asked why companies are afraid. I would say that for international companies to keep producing Christmas-themed stuff in this day and age is actually showing fear of the white evangelical bloc than it is to accommodate the rest of the universe.
Okay, so you're saying because there is a majority the majority of human beings on Earth claim to be Christian.
Yeah.
Right. Out of all religious groups, I believe Christianity still is ahead above them. Can you look up that stat, Gabriel? You're saying the fact that they produce Christmas materials leads to a fear of offending that large group of consumers.
Christianity has a third, 31%. As of 2010,
but that is the highest percentage out of all people groups, right? So are you saying then that international companies who produce Christian or not Christian necessarily, but Christmas materials, things that say "Merry Christmas" on them, or have a manger scene, or is the reason for the season type stuff, non-Santa relate? Well, Santa's still. I guess officially. Oh man, where do we delineate what Christmas is?
Well, that's kind of my point.
That's a good point.
Like I don't know that Christmas. Okay, so yes, at its core, Christmas is about the birth of Jesus.
Yep.
In reality, in our consumer laden world, I would contend that Christmas is not about the birth of Jesus. It's about the entire wintry season with trees and presents and Saint Nick and all that kind of stuff.
So now I'm going to take you on another train here.
All right.
And that is, even though I cut you off on your train of thought, I'm sorry. It almost feels like you're closer now to being on my train. Then why are they so upset about me saying Merry Christmas or a company taking a position about Christmas if it's not Christ-centered but Santa-centered?
So have people gotten upset about that? Like, is it discriminatory to wish someone Merry Christmas?
I think that is, there are companies that make certain procedures for their employees that say you say Happy Holidays, you don't say Merry Christmas.
Okay. That I maybe take issue with, because I think religious liberty means that we can inhabit our own worldview. We can express the way that we. Oh man, words are hard.
We're gonna
today.
flip flop here. I'll take the other side. I'm gonna take the position of the.
Okay,
the
so
employer.
I guess it comes down, like, if we're talking about the real reason for the season, and we want to say Merry Christmas, and it's important to us.
Should we stick to that scope or no? No,
I don't know. This is a hypothetical.
Yeah.
As with Christianity, I should be allowed to say God bless you, or I'm praying for you.
Sure.
Like, that is not hate speech. That is not discrimination. That is not my own religious agenda, like, over yours. Mm-hmm. That is simply who I am as a person and where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So if I, like, and this is maybe personal and maybe not everybody can do this, but if somebody wishes me a happy Hanukkah, I'm going to be like, thanks, Merry Christmas. Yeah. Like, it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we lose that sometimes, because in our search for unity or kind of smooth waters, we end up with, like, uniformity. I don't know. Like, if everybody says the same thing, then nobody can disagree. Well, that's sort of good, but it also means, like, nobody can actually say anything.
No beauty in individual. No beauty
diversity.
In the individual and the diversity.
Yeah.
Well, now I'll flip flop.
All right.
I'm an employer, right? If my number one thing is money, if I'm a for-profit, the goal is to make more money.
Yep.
I am so going to tell my employees, say happy holidays.
Sure.
Because the goal is kind of the atmosphere and feeling I want my consumers to have when they enter in either to my place of business or they do business with me online or whatever. Mm-hmm. If they're talking to support, if they're whatever it is, I want them to feel included and a part of something. And if I say happy holidays, they're included no matter what their holiday they're celebrating. If I say something specific, they instantly can feel separate. So as an employer, I would probably, for sure, if my goal, it depends on what my goals are and my vision is. If my goal and vision is just purely money, to make a profit, make my shareholders happy, I'm going to say happy holidays.
Can you...
And I don't see how I get faulted for that, because my goal is not to make you...
Well, right. Happy holidays is just about the safest thing that you could say.
That's total junk, and I want you coming back for support.
Right.
That's going to be okay and not great, but it's going to make you have to buy another part that I'm going to supply to you. Happy holidays. You just got ripped off. Like, that's...
Welcome to America.
Welcome.
Happy holidays, to me, is not offensive. And maybe I'm
not offended by it.
Okay. So...
Separate from Bob's...
Right.
Position right now.
But but there was backlash in the removal of Christmas themed Starbucks cups. Yeah. So I'm trying to wrap my head around, like,
maybe the backlash.
What is our goal with the backlash?
Yeah.
Like, or what was Christians' goal or Christmas believers' goal in the backlash? Was it to protect something that, like, we've had the luxury of for so long? Like, this is the officially recognized holiday of the December season, whatever.
Yeah.
Is it that? Is it just about privilege? I mean, because when it comes down to it, if somebody wishes me happy holidays, I'm like, okay, that's a little bland, but whatever. Like, it's still well wishes. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. They thought more than just say have a good day. They said happy holidays. Like, it actually, in my brain, I have to remember to say, like, Merry Christmas to people.
Okay.
To be like...
And it's kind of funny. For a while, I was just clueless. I thought the Happy Holidays thing was, like, because everybody likes to lump Thanksgiving and Christmas together.
And New Year's together, yeah.
It's just all one big celebration.
One big holiday. We're all in holiday mode. Nobody's really working. From Thanksgiving to New Year's, nobody's really working.
Sorry, guys. We're done.
I think maybe part of the backlash is me trying to put the shoes into a radical individual here for a minute, but I think part of the backlash would then be, listen, you had it as part of your stuff, and you got rid of it to basically bow down to the wishes of liberalism and let's say tolerance.
Right.
You're bowing down to everybody's, and no one can take a stand. And I've actually felt more included in with you because you had Christmas themed stuff. So I felt more a part of what you did. And now that it doesn't matter. Maybe now I'm actually seeing the sheep for what it really is underneath. You're the wolf who just wants my money. And now I'm not actually a part of something with you because it's like you really just want my money. And I don't feel an actual connection with the either product or service or company. You had a backbone. You stood for something. You don't anymore. Shame on you. And maybe I'm going to go find someplace that does celebrate Christmas, and I feel included. Because now I feel actually excluded by you including everyone. I don't feel unique and happy.
Right. So that's a good probably expose. Does everyone who heretofore was excluded, do they now feel included with a more generic? Because, like I said before, Happy Holidays to me seems bland and generic. But maybe before Merry Christmas was like, oh, that's right, I'm an outsider.
Now, so personal, Bob, I don't know how you could feel excluded by someone saying Happy Holidays. If they did say like Merry Christmas before and now they say Happy Holidays, yeah, I think I might feel more included.
Okay.
If I was a Jew who celebrated Hanukkah, if I was somebody who celebrated Kwanzaa, if I celebrate nothing, and you tell me have a good holiday season, yeah, I can have a good holiday season. If you tell me Merry Christmas, believe in Santa, Jesus died for you, then maybe I don't feel so like welcome in this place. Like, yeah, but maybe I say to you, yeah, but that Jesus guy was totally fake, right? Like there's nothing real about that. Like that maybe that's where I'm coming from. So yeah. I think saying Happy Holidays will make more people feel included.
Yeah.
Than it will make people feel excluded because of we're a Christian nation type stuff.
Okay, so your first question, does society need to recognize that this season is about Christmas?
That's from the position of an individual being like, yeah,
right,
Christmas.
So my question to Real Bob is this season about Christmas? Solely, I guess.
Solely? No, it can't be.
Well, there you go.
Society has made
there are multiple holidays.
Yeah, it just.
What's wrong with Happy Holidays?
There are other holidays. There are other religions that are celebrating things at this time.
Right.
Jews are celebrating Hanukkah right now. We have Kwanzaa. We have there's a Buddhist holiday going on right now. There's lots of different holidays. There are atheists who are celebrating things. There are probably Satanists who are celebrating things, right?
Yeah.
There are people who are celebrating nothing, but everybody's going to celebrate New Year's and everybody's going to celebrate Thanksgiving in America.
Right.
So maybe not everybody. But it in practicum is not just about Jesus and celebrating his birth, because there are other holidays being celebrated around the same time period.
Right. So,
you know what I found is interesting though, as a side Christian note, people.
Christian.
The Bethlehem
like
Star video. I don't know if you've ever watched this.
I don't know.
There's a guy who did a bunch of kind of like research with the Bethlehem Star, the star essentially that guided the wise men to find Jesus. And in time periods in history, and when did this? And this guy got like astrological charts and a computer program that kind of can trace back where all stars were back in history and where they were placed in the sky and everything like that. I think it's a really interesting watch. It's like an hour something long YouTube video, but you should watch it one night. Basically, I'm going to spoiler alert. Here it comes. If you don't want to watch it, just want to know the end. essentially what it looks like is the Bethlehem star that brought the wise men to Jesus would have been, about 3 years after his birth. On December 25th would have been the day the wise men would have been in Jerusalem.
Dude.
And so essentially what Christmas really is the first Christmas. December 25th is the first Christmas, the first recognition of gifts because of who Jesus is.
Okay.
And so it's that first celebration of the Magi being there on December 25th.
That's another thing. Like we kind of tend to confuse facts when we get
so
down
he was
to
not born on December 25th.
Time period. Well, and the wise men didn't show up that night or the very next day.
It was years later, people.
Yeah.
And so your Christmas play is probably wrong. That would make a great post, a blog post. Your Christmas play is wrong.
Well, it throws a wrench in it. Now we need like a 3-year-old Jesus instead of just the fake
time
baby.
Change, and now we get angry Herod, and then you see people come in. But it looks like that probably was a very, that was the most likely scenarios that the Magi would have been arriving on December 25th to see Jesus. So
cool. All right. Second question.
Go.
Do Christians need to be more sensitive to others' beliefs? I feel like this is definitely a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
Because I see both sides of the argument. There are people who are definitely insensitive. Mm-hmm. And it's not pretty from beginning to end.
Yeah.
There's, not enough compassion and let's try to put ourselves in their shoes and see where they're coming from and make every effort to bridge the gap relationally. And it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
On the other side, does it seem like this culture is like all of our sensibilities are just extremely delicate? And in order to appease everyone, we really can't say anything or do anything.
We make it bland.
Yeah. Is it both? I don't know.
I think there's got to be a combination. The sensitivity aspect probably needs to lean towards where am I going to just obviously offend the crap out of you? Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm bringing pork to this meeting where no one can eat pork.
Right.
Who wants some bacon? That just, that you should be aware of certain things. There are probably just some things you need to be aware of. Maybe there's a certain ceremony during this holiday season where outsiders are just not invited. And so knocking, and there's a time period, maybe there's a prayer time period. Let's say I'm making this up, but from 8 to 10 p.m. on this day, this group of people are praying, and it's just for the family. Mm-hmm. You don't randomly show up asking for donations to your kids' band fund during the holiday season, selling wrapping paper and candy. You don't knock on their door because you know that's going on.
Right.
Those type of things, just knowing things. You just got to know some stuff.
Right. So I feel like that kind of goes without saying, but how lightly do we tread, I guess? Because with wishing Merry Christmas to people, it's I don't necessarily know what faith they're coming from. I don't know their background. Am I allowed to say Merry Christmas, or should I ask? Every time.
So going back to Matthew, heart and relationship.
Yeah.
People I have relationship with, there's going to be a different level. Maybe the question stems to the complete stranger, the checkout kid at Target.
Right.
What can I say? Should I say Merry Christmas because I celebrate Christmas, or should I say Happy Holidays? Or does it not matter?
I really don't think it matters. Which means I think you should. I don't actually like taking a stand on this because it's weird.
Yeah.
But I think. I guess I would reply in kind. Which is maybe a cop-out. Yeah, because I should be the starter, the initiator.
You should be. You're a Christian. Reconcile.
It should not grind my gears to say Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
Just on the off chance that they are, they have a different background than I do. simply because I have no relationship with them.
Yep.
And I have no need to impress my own worldview or holiday stance onto them. So, I don't know.
I'm okay putting my worldview on people, but
well, sure.
I mean,
but
to an
usually
extent, you're kind
asked.
of called to do that because if you really think it's true, you're going to be trying to convince people that. But yeah, most of the time that's dealing with relationship, not with complete strangers.
Yeah.
With a complete stranger, I think maybe we need to change our Christian vocabulary during this season. Maybe we need to come up with a solution, like how we came up with a solution with men. Hey, guys, you got to leave your shirts on from now on. No bare nipples for guys.
Right.
That solves the problem. Maybe we need to come up with a new phrase for this season that you can use to both give your Christian spin in recognizing your beliefs and your identity of who you are, while also not offending someone else. Ideas. People who are listening, put your ideas of a new phrase that you could use. Maybe something like, may God bless your seasons this year. Something like that. Maybe, but you're basically ruling out atheist, and by that point you're like, well, yeah, I mean, you're an atheist. It's too bad for you.
I don't know. This is weird. I feel like,
because if you're comfortable saying God bless you to anyone, to a perfect stranger, right? I'm praying for you. God bless you.
Right.
You know, it says it on our money. Can I say blessings this season?
Sure.
Something like that.
I don't know.
Or should we just avoid the whole season thing altogether and just go straight to the God bless you? And avoid using that for sneezing so it's not overdone.
Well, yeah, sure. Oh, okay. So the other side I was going to bring up is it seems like there has been kind of a reaction to like corporate businesses and stuff moving away from Merry Christmas, where smaller companies, like you hear it on radio ads and stuff, make a point of being very clear and saying Merry Christmas. And that to me actually like kind of weirds me out a little bit.
Okay, why is that?
Because it strikes me, which maybe this is not the case, but it strikes me as a reaction to people wanting to be more inclusive. So it's like they're taking extra steps to make sure that like their holiday, like everybody knows what holiday they're celebrating.
Yeah.
And that to me is a little funky. So relating that, I guess, to the checkout boy scenario, like if you're going through, I don't know, it can't be a heart issue because it's a checkout boy.
Yeah.
Like,
unless your heart issue is to do exactly what you're saying. I am going to make sure this boy knows a Christian just checked through his aisle 2.
A real Christian who believes in Christmas.
Who got 12 packs of Oreos and 10 liters of Coke, because I don't have gluttony or anything like that. Right. Real Christian just walked right through here and says Merry Christmas. And they're going to feel Christmas while I leave. I think we need to come up with something new.
Yeah, this is tough. Like, this is the most indecisive I think I've been on an issue so far.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from. That you can, you feel kind of like grinded by the companies that are saying Merry Christmas, or they get 12 kids to say it together,
right?
And you're like, yeah, and okay, I get what you're trying to do, but at the same time, are you,
like they're
are you just
overcompensating.
assuming that's what they're doing? Like, you're also assuming
I might just
that's
be
what they're
assuming.
doing.
Yeah.
That could just be coming from the heart. They're so happy about this Christmas season for them.
It could be.
They're like, Merry Christmas, everyone, and they're just that happy.
Maybe.
It's not
I'm
wrong.
just a cynical
It's
dude.
all a matter of like what I mean. In the end, really, like whether you say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you say, in kind of like reality, it's not like there's no morality to it. It's a matter of just people's reaction to it
right.
and what you want people's reaction to be.
Yeah.
It's how you're steering people's reactions.
I feel like we should take a Facebook or Twitter poll.
We need a poll.
I don't know.
Or something. Because maybe part of it is, are you looking to make an impact on the stranger, on their reaction to how you greet and say goodbye to them?
Right. That's my question. Do you have an agenda? If you are a Merry Christmaser, do you have an agenda when you tell a perfect stranger Merry Christmas?
Yeah. Are you trying to impress
If you
someone?
don't, then it's completely fine. We should be able to say Merry Christmas to everyone, regardless of what they celebrate.
Yep.
On the other hand, there's nothing wrong, I think, with including all different holidays and celebrations and saying Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, what about like I don't have a problem with maybe this is too blurred between Judaism and Christianity, but saying like Shabbat Shalom to someone, like peaceful Sabbath to someone. I don't celebrate that. Yeah. But if I know they're going to be celebrating the Sabbath, or if I know they're going to be celebrating Yom Kippur, I could tell them have a peaceful Yom Kippur, or like a fast, or may the fast go quickly. I think you could say things like, may the fast go quickly for you and easy for you.
Okay.
During that time. But
and maybe that's what it comes down to, and maybe it's a broader issue. Like, are we expecting people that we don't know, or people that come from different walks of life, to accommodate us, or is it vice versa? Are we looking for inroads into their life?
Yeah.
Being aware of the Sabbath, being aware of, I don't even know any of the Islamic ones.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking of one earlier, but it totally left me. I don't know. But there's lots of stuff that a lot of people celebrate. And does it really kill the Christian to figure out when those things are and relate on that level?
Yeah.
I don't think
Maybe
so.
We need to be, we probably just, I like your idea of like, well, is our goal to be more telling people what we're about, or is our goal to be more finding out what they're about?
Right. And
relating to them and finding relationships. So then, one, I agree with that, but two, it gets back to the checkout boy at Target, who I'm going to have zero relationship with.
Right.
Or is my goal to say Merry Christmas and hope the kid breaks down and I have an inroad into his life because he's crying right now?
I mean, you're not going to have a kid breaking down over Happy Holidays.
Nope. Unless his holiday season's always like there's problems.
Well, right.
And you're not
maybe just utilize the wisdom that the Spirit gives you. But man, that would make for a busy day. Every single time you want to tell somebody something like, okay, it's going to be Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas. Let me know. Let me know. Okay. Happy Holidays. Oh, they broke down. Like, I don't know.
All right. So
there's an element of just being a person and getting stuff wrong.
Yeah.
That we have to deal with.
You got it. I think that's it. All right. So one, is there a new phrase that we can use out there as Christians to be more inclusive yet still maintain our identity? Two,
have a blessed December.
Yeah. Two, are you, if you say Merry Christmas to the checkout boy at Target, do you have an agenda with it? Actually, that is an interesting one. Do you have an agenda?
I think so, yeah.
So those are a couple questions for people to ponder, and we're looking for some feedback on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you have it. So I think that probably wraps up our fresh roast.
Sure.
What do you think? All right. Merry Christmas. You've been roasted. All right. For our segments, Johnny, do we want to do a roaster review?
Sure.
All right. I did. Whitney and I Netflix binge watch. That's probably now a verb in the Webster's dictionary is binge watching. I don't know if it is, but it's
got another segment. Speaking of.
Oh, okay. We watched The Crown on Netflix, and that is about Queen Elizabeth receiving the crown, becoming queen when her father died, and like the relationships between her and her sister and her husband, and figuring out how to be queen and with the prime minister, Winston Churchill. It's really. I thought it was really interesting. No nudity, so that's like, hey, you're free to. I think there's a few some potty language if you want to go there. Some swearing. I'm obviously on this podcast. You know where I stand on that. But I thought it was enjoyable. What's interesting is if you're unfamiliar with the history, which I'm ignorant of history. They
except
bring
for the last
up,
4 hours.
Except for the last 4
You're
hours.
good for that.
Yeah. They bring things up, and what kills you is to be like, okay, I'm not going to look this up on the internet to find out what happens. Like, how was it handled actually back in 1952, you know? There are some events I didn't know about that were really interesting that did happen, like on a more like grand scale of all of Europe, of like the Black Fog or something like. There was a great fog that happened that killed like almost 12,000 people in Europe, and it was like, what the heck is this? But yeah, really interesting stuff. It has a very high rating on Netflix. I applaud that rating. I will probably give this a 4 bean watch. It's
how many seasons? How many episodes?
There's 1 season so far, 10 episodes, I believe.
Okay.
Very bingeable. Whitney and I did it in 2 days.
Nice.
I think the first night we stayed up till like 2 in the morning. Yeah, it was bad. But yeah, I recommend The Crown for those who are looking for something to do for the next few days.
Well, I have a roasted review on another British-ish movie, slightly different track. Hot Fuzz.
Hey-o. It's been a long time since I've seen Hot Fuzz. I don't remember
this is sort of one of a trilogy kind of movies by this. I can't remember his name. It's Simon Pegg. But the director is I think it's the chunky guy who's like his sidekick and everything. Anyway, it's pretty hilarious. I dig it.
Edgar Wright?
Yes, I think that's him.
Oh, he ain't fat.
Nick Frost.
That's who you're thinking.
So that
Shaun of the Dead stuff.
Yes. The 3 is Shaun of the Dead, The World's End, and Hot Fuzz. And they are all, I think, pretty smart British comedy, with some shocking amounts of gore thrown in at very kind of random moments. So yeah, Hot Fuzz is about this kind of tight-wound cop who has like single-handedly gotten rid of crime in London, and they don't know what to do with him, so they send him out to this tiny little town. Turns out the entire town is kind of against him, and which I kind of like. In all of the movies that these guys have done, it's always like the one guy or the group of guys against the entire populace, and they're trying to figure out like, okay, am I the crazy one or is everybody else crazy? And it's usually everybody else is crazy. And I think it's actually kind of a cool theme, but they mix in some great humor, and I don't know, it's just good. So if you are a comedy guy who can stand a little bit of ridiculous gore, I mean, for what it is, I'd give it 5 beans.
Oh yeah!
Obviously, it is not a 5 bean movie.
Yeah, but in that realm of movies,
if you're looking
gore
for gore comedy, Brit gore comedy, it's definitely a 5 bean. In the whole scale of things, I mean, it's just a B movie.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you gonna do? I totally forgot my other segment.
I think my other one's too long. We'll save it for later. But hopefully you have something to reply with us about on the holiday season and Santa Claus. Oh, maybe another just side note. If you're a Christian, you and your wife or you and your husband, Christian parents, did you tell your kids there was Santa or not? Interested in that too, as a just little side note. What did you do about Santa Claus? Let us know. So on that, anything else?
I really wish I could remember, but I can't, so no.
Okay. Well, this has been the Roasted Christian Podcast. I'm Bobby.
I'm John.
Thanks for listening.
You're welcome.
This episode is produced by Pet Fox Studios. Pet Fox Studios is a recording studio in Morris, Minnesota. Visit petfoxstudios.com for more information.